everybody. Welcome to another sensational session of Strike a Chord Live podcast with my dear brother, Collin Harbour. He's right there in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Marcus Ellis. I'm here in Pensacola, Florida. Collin, why don't you tell him who we are?
We are two lifelong friends with a love of baseball, music, motivation, and inspiration mixed with a little bit of nostalgia, culture, transformation, and fun. And we want you to take the journey with us.
This is Strike a Chord Live podcast. Well, good morning.
Good morning. It seemed to be pretty normal sign on there. Seemed to be
it
good.
it never sounds as broken merry-go-round on the replay as it does in the beginning. But I'm pretty proud of myself because I was under pressure there. It was telling me that our broadcast was broken between one of the places we're broadcast, so I had to fix it while the intro was going on. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I fixed it. We're
That's
live.
Very impressive. That is on the fly, as we say.
On the fly, yeah. So we were talking about this. We all deal with pressures and trials and everything. I haven't even told you. I mean, I guess I did yesterday. We had a conversation about the real estate stuff going on. Oh boy, man, they're coming to take your house, folks. Just kidding. But what's going on at DFW today, man? Good morning. It's been a bit.
I know we've been doing stuff the last couple of weeks and been tired and been a bunch of different things. But yeah, it's good. Like we were talking a little bit beforehand. We got school coming up. We've got football. So I've got. In case you notice, I do have my Baylor Bear National Champions men's basketball hat from 2021. Well,
I've got the future 2023 world champion Atlanta Braves hat on because the Braves are just crushing it like they always do until they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's fun. I love sports. They make me so happy.
Yeah, that's how we bonded, man. We had I swear, man, the sanitary socks that you and I wore playing baseball, when we took them off, they'd stand up on their own off the floor, And
sanitary socks. I forgot that's what we call them.
Why did they ever call them that? Why did they call them that? I don't know.
I have no idea. Why didn't they just call them socks?
I don't. They were a specific thing, baseball socks that went all the way up to your knee. They were thin, so to make sure when you slide, it was guaranteed you get a strawberry through the sanitary socks. They'd rip, but I digress. Welcome back. Peggy Gossman says, we love you, Peggy Gossman. Let's go, Collin. So you just had a big day, right? It was your 25th wedding anniversary. Is that true?
It was, yeah. Our 25th wedding anniversary. Thank you very much. Our 25th wedding anniversary was Tuesday. Yes, August 8th.
Man, that is that's a milestone in itself. Talk about commitment. So, that your anniversary, you came up with a great topic, inspired us to talk about today, commitment in good times and bad times.
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea of commitment. Thank you, Peggy. The idea of commitment, right? In good times and bad times. I mean, there's things that sometimes people feel obligated to. There's things that sometimes people are committed to. I mean, hey, I know we're talking about it in the context of a marriage, but what about a sports team?
Oh man,
so a lot of people, even Alabama fans, have had some down times in even football. I can remember a few years, maybe 20 years ago, when there was a little dip for a while. If you were a Baylor fan, we definitely have ups and downs, but yet some people stay committed, some people don't. So commitment during the good and bad times, marriage, friendships, jobs, co-workers, there's so many different ways to go with it.
Yeah, well, when you and I were playing baseball, we were committed during tough times because we played for Trio Electric, and 41-0 in 4 innings.
Yeah, 41-0. That's right. Who was that? Sacred Heart, or was that
Sacred Heart?
Yeah, that was against Sacred Heart. And those guys crushed us. That was horrible.
Yeah, I know that my buddy Vincent Wynn, who works for Gibson in Nashville, he was on that team. John David Zeiler was on that team. Tad Lindsay was on Sacred Heart. So I can remember
Daniel Hart.
Daniel Hart, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So good morning, Matt Gallagher. Good to see you, bro. I love you. Talk about crushing it. A commitment during tough times. Ryan and I have been committed on these 2 real estate deals that have seemed to go on forever. And I think we're closing. I know we're closing the chapter today on that. But yeah, so when you and I were playing ball, we weren't on great teams at first, but we still went to practice every day. We still ran the laps. We still did the suicides. We were committed. I mean, we practiced baseball every single day.
I know.
They
was really
that
fun back then. That was really fun,
Yeah, remember when my dad used to hit the ball as high as it could go? It was like 10 stories high, and all these kids get under here, and
Mm-hmm. It was fun, but it was commitment.
Yeah. Good morning, Summer Star. Right? We love you. So, yeah.
You froze up. It made me nervous for a second there. I thought I was gonna have to start doing some Seinfeld type.
Oh, baby, you didn't freeze up for me.
Okay, good. So commitment. Yeah. So that was commitment to something that we really loved, right? As kids, we loved playing baseball. We all loved hanging out with each other. We probably thought we were ballers. We had big league chew. We had all this stuff going, and we just were ready. We're ready to play some baseball. But there are some bad times. I mean, like for us trio, we kind of sucked at baseball. We didn't suck, but our team kind of sucked. Right. I mean, we weren't that great. Just bottom line.
Right.
It wasn't me and you, definitely, but the team didn't, but then we stuck with it. But let's talk about it in the context of a marriage or your friends or your children, teaching your children. I mean, there's just good times and there's bad times. Hey, the country, your nation, your state. We were talking about some politician stuff before we started this, but it's like, there's ups and downs in those realms too, that sometimes it's hard to stick with, right?
Yeah, well, you mentioned something that really struck a chord with me. You mentioned the incredible invention of Big League Chew. So I'm gonna use that example and show you commitment in tough times. Have you ever heard of the Portland Mavericks? Kurt Russell, the actor, his dad, Bing Russell, bought this minor league baseball team in the 70s. Have you watched that documentary? You've got to watch it. So Kurt Russell's dad was a big baseball guy. I mean, he had a baseball diamond set up in the living room, and they would practice in the living room. So anyways, his dad bought this failing minor league baseball team called the Portland Mavericks and brought them to the championship. But there was a guy on that team that was really bad at baseball, but Bing Russell kept him on there, and that guy invented Big League Chew coming out of the Portland Mavericks. But so the story is about this baseball team. You got to watch it. I mean, they were the worst. I mean, the worst of the worst. And Portland was very upset that this California actor's dad, because Kurt Russell, did you know Kurt Russell played pro ball? He was in.
I did hear that. I knew he was athletic. I don't think I knew exactly what he played, but I knew,
Never made the show. But anyways, this team, I mean, talk about adversity and tough times, but they were committed and they became champions of this baseball league. And then one of the guys, I can't remember his name, invented Big League Chew from that. So I thought that was a really good segue for you to mention, us carrying around Big League Chew. And we used to fold our hats in the middle and stick them in our pocket.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah. But I digress. But that was really fun. The three people that are watching this are just loving you and I just going back.
Well, the thing about Big League Chew is I still get it from time to time.
I do too. It's a great pack of bubble gum, as opposed to the Red Man plug that used to come out of the same pouch that would make you deathly sick. So
yeah, those were crazy times. But dedication and commitment, and it's easy to say the words, and it's easy to it's kind of this fine line of how we relate to people and how we do different things. So it is challenging. It's challenging to be committed to a child, let's say, when the child is doing something wrong or going down the wrong path, right? There's business partners. I mean, you talk about business partners. Sometimes business partners get mad at each other, right?
Sometimes.
And that could cause conflict. Businesses break up, sometimes states get mad at each other and start a civil war, quote unquote. There's just it's hard to remain uh, committed to people.
Well, how can we, what are some of the things that we can tell the fine people out there? What are some of the things we can do, to practice that type of patience during the hard times? I mean, I know one of them is practicing acceptance. Like, when you become an adult, it's harder when you're a kid, but we have to accept things about people we're close to that we don't necessarily dig, right? That we don't necessarily like. But that's what, in marriage or a business or a podcast partner or whatever it is, you have to accept that person's good stuff and the bad stuff, right?
That is an interesting point, Marcus, and I'll give you a real life example. So, I've been married 25 years, as we
Yep.
said, and I have two children. I have a 17-year-old and an 11-year-old. And we were at the table the other night eating dinner, which doesn't happen very often where we're at home eating dinner. And apparently it was brought to my attention that I'm a loud chewer. Okay.
Oh,
So
me too.
apparently my wife has been putting up with my loud chewing for 25 years. And she, I think at one point in her life accepted it. But it seems like this week she kind of lost that acceptance a little bit, as did both of my daughters. So yeah, acceptance is very hard.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I had, when we played for Workman basketball, I got elbowed one time in the nose, and that was the first time I broke my nose. And then there was another time that somebody put a right guard can in a pillowcase in a pillow fight and broke my nose again that time. And so I had a crushed set. Like I didn't breathe out of the left side of my nose for like 30 years. And I didn't realize it, but when I ate, my wife and my kids say that I do this thing. I go, and I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you do this low hum thing when you eat. And I was like, what? But the news of that is they accepted me in that. But the news of it is once I got my nose fixed and got all that, I don't do it anymore. So
you have a low hum when you eat.
Yeah, and it bothered them, but they accepted me. They still love me for dad and the provider that I am, and they just dealt with it. So practicing
acceptance, right?
Yeah.
Acceptance. That's a good way to be committed to someone and to gain a commitment from them, right?
Yeah. Well, and the lesson is really, I mean, golly, it's like, don't give up so quick. I mean, I think that's the problem with relationships and business deals and marriages today. A lot of people, like, as soon as conflict happens, they're just like, peace out. I can't deal with this. But really, the reward, the sweetness is in getting through that to the other side, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt that longevity. Sorry, I've got allergies or something this morning. It's driving me nuts.
It is that season.
I know it's about to get really bad, but allergies, acceptance, and getting to the other side. Yeah, those are great rewards, right?
Yep. Well, we also have to, look for the meaning and the purpose of that relationship. Like, in business, it's to be successful. We want to make money. We want to help people. We want to do these things. So there has to be a purpose for it, because if there's not an attainable target, we're just kind of whistling in the wind, right? We've got to, I mean, the thing is that your kids, my kids, they're going to grow up and they're going to be gone. And we're going to be alone with our significant others. That's when things, I mean, obviously the time when we have kids is sweet, but I'm sure on the other side of that, which I've never had that because I have 100 kids, that's going to be a sweet time, because then it's just you and Gina, right? It's just going to be me and Laura. It's you and your partner. When you get through the hard things, that's when the reward is that much sweeter, right? Because you have a purpose, a goal of getting to that finish line together.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think remaining committed, and I know in that context we're talking about in marriage, but again, it could apply to anything. Is, what are some common goals that you share with someone? What are common targets,
Yeah.
milestones along the way, other things that you're trying to achieve as you get there, and those can help build that commitment over time, right? And help keep you committed through
Yeah.
through the good and the bad times, because there are going to be bad times and there are going to be things that come up, and go down. You're going to have really good days in life. I mean, we talk about kids. We both have younger kids. I tell them that all the time. Look, you're going to have a bad day sometimes. You're going to have a bad day. I mentioned to you, we kind of have some ups and downs that we're going through right now. Trying to explain that to children that it's going to be okay, potentially in the long run, is very hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's something too that within all this, something we haven't touched on is preparedness is key, because we know, let's say we're at the dry erase board and we're like, we're here, we want to get here, but in this middle stuff here, there's going to be some stuff. There's going to be some stuff that we're going to go through. So we have to be prepared, knowing that it's not always going to be peaches and cream, that it's going to be rough seas. We're going to have some rocky times. How do we handle those situations in those times? How do we be committed to each other, whether that's business, parenting, marriage, whatever that is? How do we stay committed during those times? We have to prepare for it, right? We have to know, hey, when our kid comes home and somebody's giving her a hard time, like I have with my, it's funny. We got new assignments and my daughter was like, oh no, not this guy. I haven't had this guy in my class since kindergarten or first grade. And, but I prepped her. I was saying, hey, listen, you haven't been around that guy for 4 or 5 years. You don't know what he's like. And guess what? She came home yesterday. She was like, Daddy, you were right. He was a totally different person. He was so sweet and nice and da-da-da-da-da. So we have to be prepared to accept, first of all, the downfalls and the goodness that others have to offer.
Yeah, preparedness is one of the tough things. And it's also one of the things, I mean, a lot of preparedness comes from time, from age, right? We're in our 50s. So we've experienced a lot of,
we're in our 50s?
I'm in my 50s. I think you're in your 50s too.
I am too. That's crazy. But
my eyebrows was about to sneeze, but it went away. But a lot of it comes from what's that?
No, I'm nothing. I was talking about my eyebrows are brown.
One of the, as far as preparedness goes, then, well, now I've lost my train of thought, because here's the other thing. You're on a delay. I don't think it's on a delay on the line, but it's delay coming through to me. So sometimes your hand is moving, but you're not saying something, and then you'll say something. So it really throws me off, which is kind of
wow. Yeah, I don't have that delay, so sorry.
And my hat's off crooked, and it's just one of those mornings,
Hey, it's a Friday, school's starting, we're back, it's that kind of thing. Peggy Gossman says the problem is you never know when the axe will fall. It's hard to prepare. You have to be prepared for that, because the axe is going to fall. There's no smooth sailing through life, right? And I think that's what we're talking about.
I think she's got a great point in the context of you can't prepare for everything, right? You can't prepare for every scenario. You don't know what's going to fall, and you don't know what and when it's going to fall. So a lot of times it's just how you react to things when the axe falls, right? How you remain committed to whatever it is based on other experiences,
yeah, you're preaching to the choir there, because in these real estate deals that Ryan Gallagher and I are doing, man, yesterday I was just like, I'm telling you, man, we've been working on one since the end of May, the beginning of June, and here we are. They don't take that long, and it's been hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. And yesterday I was just like, I lost it for about an hour. I allowed myself to lose it for an hour, and maybe that's something that is a good point in this. It's okay to lose it. It's okay to get that stuff out. You can't bottle that stuff up. So you got to let it out, and then you got to discuss it with your partner. You have to go over these things. Hey, man, when this happened, I really wasn't digging that. Or when you said this, so communication after the meltdown is important, Collin.
After the meltdown, that's a good one. Yeah, to not keep bottled things up, or keep things bottled up is very important, and I think a lot of people forget that. I mean, I know that with your business, you guys probably have a lot of running and slowing, dead ends, or somebody trying to throw up a stop sign or whatever the case may be. I mean, obviously, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm sure there's that. It's that way with my businesses too. There's
unscrupulous attorneys.
Unscrupulous. Yeah, unscrupulous attorneys. They probably all are, right? When
No,
they're
there's
on the other
great because
side,
we have,
probably all of
man.
them are
No,
unscrupulous.
we have a great attorney on our side, Johnny Glassman, that really got us through. But some of the big wig attorneys that sit high in those tall buildings and thumb their nose at us, we won. We beat them. We won. But the takeaway too is that I allowed myself to I melted down for about 30 minutes. And I like to tell folks, even though you and I are on here and we have a lot of knowledge and things that we're imparting to the fine people that listen and watch to us, we go through this stuff too every day. We're not perfect. And there's times where Ryan, my partner, has to rein me in. Yesterday, my wife is like, just let that out. Just go nuts for a minute. And I went nuts. I broke a few things. I threw a few footballs and baseballs around, and then I got back on the horse and got to it and came up with a solution. So when you're going through your tough times, you have to remain committed. But Collin, there are ways to get through those things. We're not saying, there's something I don't like is, pull up your big boy pants or pull up your bootstraps. That's not reality. I mean, yeah, there is times where you have to say, okay, enough is enough. I got to do this. But we've got to go through these things. You have to allow yourself to go through these things to get to the other side.
Yeah, no doubt. I love that. Put up, because we do say that to our children a lot. Put on your big girl pants, put on, or whatever the case may be. And Gina says that a lot to them. I mean, I do think that indicates something else, but you're right. Hey, sometimes getting through an issue is letting out the emotion, whether it's throwing footballs and kicking soccer balls and throwing baseballs. It shouldn't be anything abusive. We're not promoting that, but it could be, I know sometimes people break doors or put holes in walls and stuff like that. I think that throwing a football is a probably better method than putting a hole in the wall, because then you've got to repair it, right?
Yeah, you know what my dad used to do? When he'd get mad, he'd go, come on, let's go play a game of catch. And I'm like, cool. I'm going to throw the baseball with my dad. And my dad would throw the baseball so hard, you could hear it whistling coming to you. And my hand would be black and blue. And he'd be laughing on the other side. And now I realized that he would hang up the phone on somebody. Let's go play some catch. And he would take it out on my hand inside my glove.
Yeah, and so going to play catch is a great example, right? Or go for a walk. I have, when I work from home, I go up to a client's office quite a bit now, but when I'm work from home, when it's not 108 degrees like it's been for the last week, sometimes I will just go walk around the block.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my version of going to fly a kite or playing catch. It's not, I don't even know if it's a quarter mile. Maybe it's a quarter mile. I don't know. But during that time, it allows things to change, right? It allows me to, hey, and if it's really bad, sometimes I'll walk 2 times around the block, right? Or go around a bigger block. So, there are other things to do that can help you get through these little things in life called roadblocks, right? Or called issues, or called, sometimes they're not little, sometimes they're big issues, right? No one's saying that everything's a little issue. There are big issues that people have to get through, that we have to get through, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in business, if we don't deal with the issues, we don't eat. Right? I mean, we just don't. And that's the stress of it. But you brought up a great point that struck a chord with me. I mean, you've got to have a cool down moment. If you're going to stay committed to your partner or the job at hand and things are getting tough, you got to have a cool down moment, right? I mean, that's why bands take a break. That's why there's set breaks, because the energy just gets so high, you have to take a break, collect yourself, and come back. I mean, even if it's a good night. So the cool down moment's very important. I appreciate you talking about that, walking around the block, because, step away from the situation for a minute, be silent, take a walk, and, maybe the solution will come, right?
Yeah. I mean, as the great Peter Cetera once said, is everybody needs a little time away, even lovers need a holiday. I mean,
was that Chicago 16 or 17?
I don't remember.
I think we saw the concert on Chicago 17 tour, but those 2 records, I mean, ruined the band Chicago, because David Foster and Peter Cetera is like, yeah, we're taking this hit making machine somewhere else. But Peter Cetera didn't want to have the horns in Chicago anymore.
Yeah, I've seen, there was a really cool documentary.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was a really, the
But
one
you know
that
who's not in it?
won. Huh?
You know who's not in it? Peter Cetera. He
Yeah, Peter
refused to be in it.
they reference him, but yeah, he's not. Yeah,
Yeah, I think he took his hit-making machine and left, and there was bad blood on that. So, I mean, after all of those years, 25 years, Chicago at that point imploded, but they kept going and they kept producing hits. They have one of the best-selling Christmas records of all time that Peter Cetera's not on it. So it's just commitment in all things, Collin.
and it's also understanding though that there's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be ups and downs. It's making it through them, and it may be rocky, right? It may be playing catch with your dad to get through a time when he's throwing the ball 50 miles an hour, laughing, and you're getting a bruise on your hand, right?
It was more than that. It was like 100 miles an hour. I mean,
it may be your children and wife telling you that you're a loud eater, and that after a long
or that
time,
you produce a low hum when you chew.
or a low hum when you chew, right? It
So-
could be a business partner. It could be a business deal that's
I like how we're so stupid that we crack each other up too. Nobody's watching.
I don't know. I think it's just this morning too. We've taken a couple of weeks off, and it's just like the end of the summer, and it's like I said, here in Dallas, it's 108, and I just looked this morning. It's going to be another 10 days of 106, 107, 108 degrees. There's one day where it goes down to like 97 in like 6 days. I still don't know how they predict all this stuff. It's like 108, 108, 108, 96, 108, 108, 108, 108.
I want that job because you can be wrong 50% of the time.
Yeah, it's just a model. It's just a model. It's just what the model shows.
Well, we're sleep deprived, we're hot, but we're back, and we're doing it better than ever. We're committed to the cause to help the fine viewers, whether you're listening or watching live or on hashtag replay, as the kids call it. We appreciate you. We love you, and we hope you get something out of Strike a Chord Live podcast. I know Collin and I do. We take what we talk about and go, hey, that was pretty good. I'm going to go use that today.
Yeah, we do. Real life application.
So one more thing that you can do is to remain motivated. And that's easier said than done, right? So setting your achievable targets, setting your achievable goals is what I'm trying to say, and then celebrating even small wins. Like, Collin, you got to celebrate that 97 degrees that day because it's cooler.
I will. It'll feel like it's winter almost by that time,
You know that feeling too when, a couple of college football games have been played and all of a sudden the fall comes in and you can feel that there's nothing better than
no, it was like 73, 78 degrees, but then in the morning it was 68. And so it's kind of like, this is weird,
Yeah. So celebrating those small wins can help you stay motivated and committed in those tough times. So, man, there's a lot of things, practicing acceptance, reach out to others, tell people you're going through these hard things in your business or your relationship. If your spouse is a loud eater, say, hey, you're chewing too loud. I love you, but you're chewing too loud. Let's work on that, right? And you can work on that, look for meaning and purpose, and then stay motivated, celebrate those small wins, right?
Absolutely, especially then if your spouse stops eating loudly after that.
So are you going to be conscious of that?
I am conscious of it. I am. Yes, I'm well aware of it now, and I'm very conscious, and I will work to be better.
I only heard myself humming one time after that. I was like, I do that. That's crazy. I never knew I did that. But that's why we have our significant others, to point out all of these little discrepancies and little things that we have. That's why we love them so much. So congratulations on 25 years. What a milestone. That's incredible. To you and Gina, let's even give you another round of applause here.
Thank you very much.
For the commitment. Man, I'm sure you could write a book on that. But, man, you got anything to say before we kick off and go crush our Friday?
No, that's it. I've got, like a lot of people, I've got a lot of stuff riding on today. So,
Actually, Ryan and I do too. We have a lot riding on today. But you know what? When it comes this afternoon, it's going to be time to celebrate. Get a Coca-Cola, maybe a Diet Coke. I don't know what you drink. And go celebrate those wins. So we thank you guys for listening and watching. You have been listening and watching Strike Chord Live podcast with my dear brother. He's right there, Collin Harbour. We'll let the music play out, and we will see you here on Wednesday. We'll be here on Wednesday to see you guys. We love you. Peace and chicken grease. We're out. Spill the broken beer around, Collin. Spill the broken beer around. People are normal.
It sounds normal to me.
See y'all.